is there a way?
We got robots coming out in the next month, Bruce, on that
Oh,
machine.
wait,
So
are we dropping something? Because I'm the way I'm
why
thinking is
not?
like, I need you to open up your phone, slide open, type in your passcode of 0000, and go to Instagram. Type in multicraft_daddy and send him a message. Multicraft Daddy is sending out PMI tape every single week to one lucky winner for you to be able to try or continue using. Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years have been providing the industry with top brands at competitive pricing. And if you mention the Printavo pod, you also receive 10% off your first order. Thanks, Multicraft.
Bruce, you shouldn't spend all day cleaning dirty screens. EasyWay's line of environmentally conscious chemicals will get the job done faster, more efficiently, and cost you a fraction of the cost per screen. At Campus Ink, we use 701 and 842. Those are our favorite chemicals. And if you value a company to help you with the how-tos, the best practices, and the questions, give EasyWay a try. They're the easiest way. They just went through a cool rebrand, and really excited about the things that they are cooking up. So thanks so much, EasyWay.
Supercolor. Supercolor is the world's best heat transfers made by screen printers for screen printers. It's like the FUBU for heat transfers. They understand the pressures and expectations of a screen printing business, and so that's why they pride ourselves in being super fast and super easy. Their support is awesome. I mean, I definitely emailed them a few times with issues. They respond super quick and have really dialed it in, and or even ship stuff overnight if needed. So thank you, Supercolor. Not only that, but if you mention Printavo 15, that gets you 15% off your order. Also, Supercolor's got some new stuff. DTF is here, so their quantities are lower. You can go to Super DTF and give it a try. All right. Last but not least, GraphX Source. If you need a solution to help improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, 1-900-HOTStuff.com, aka GraphX Source, is there to be able to help. Mention Printavo Pod 24. That gets you 50% off your first vector, SEP, or digitized order. That's Printavo Pod 24. Campus Ink has, drumroll please, how many artists at GraphX Source? 5? You have one hand?
5.
He's got 5 artists.
5.
That's pretty cool.
But that's back office, not just art. They're doing order entry. They're in Shopify. They're building online stores. We love our GraphX Source team.
GraphX Source. They're cranking for Campus Ink, and they can crank for you too. Trademark that. Sorry, guys. All right, guys. Let's jump on into the episode.
Ross, good morning. I just first want to kick us off by clearing some air. Besides you becoming president of ROQ US, when was the second most pivotal moment for ROQ's history in the United States?
Wow, I'm flattered by the first answer you threw in there, Steven.
I needed, Ryan's going to listen to it, and this will be the hook in so he can listen to it. So he's only going to give us 10 seconds. So, all right, Ryan's listening now. Go ahead, Ross.
Well, I think, the pivotal moment was, Ryan actually making the decision, 12, 13 years ago to bring it into the United States. I think it was a tough decision in a landscape that was, fully blue at that point, and kind of taking the courageous jump to try something new, try something different, and really believe in a company that's focus was on the consumer and on technology that was going to push the consumer forward and taking a shot. I mean, that's a tough entrepreneurial move when you've got something that's tried and true. And you're really taking a chance. So, I mean, that was pivotal, because otherwise I wouldn't even be here right now, because it probably wouldn't be in the United States at all. You look like you're looking for a different answer, though.
No, I think this is really interesting. And I was doing some research ahead of time today, because I think a lot of people might know the story, but I don't know if people realize, like, Ryan actually had to go find a manufacturer and bring them to the States and start selling, like, early on. How early were you part of that journey?
I really didn't come in until about a year before we formed ROQ US. So I was part of forming ROQ US as part of the OEM in the United States. I mean, that was essentially, before that I was a printer. I owned a printing company out in Los Angeles for 11 years. I had sold that. I kind of took a break from working. I was doing the Bruce thing for a good 6 months. And, he called me one day and he's like, "Hey, we got some things going on. Want to see what you're doing?" And it sounded cool. And, here I am today. Right. So I think, for us, the big move of forming ROQ US was broadening our market. There was so much that we could do at the point where Ryan had taken the product, and we really needed to get to a place where that market broadened into more enterprise and Fortune 500 level businesses really looking at ROQ as a solution within the market. And so when we made the move, it was really important during that time to change the way that we spoke, to change the way that we marketed. We kept a lot of fun. We kept culture. That was really important to us. But it was really to show people how much of an impact these machines could make on their business in a positive way. And that took a lot of time. And obviously we started this literally, we signed paperwork February before the COVID March hit. And so it was a freaky time, right? You didn't know the whole country was going to shut down. We're all excited. And literally 3 weeks later, it's like, hey, everyone needs to go home and wear masks and not be out in public. But what the silver lining of that was, it gave us the opportunity to really assess our marketing strategy. And we spent that time during COVID. One, bleeding money because no one was doing anything because we were all like, what's going to happen? But we took that time to really focus on our messaging, to really focus on, bringing in other sub-distributors, which was new to this brand in the US. So going from one distributor to now, I believe we have about 18 or 19 distributors for the product with over, I think, 90 physical locations in the US. It was a big part of the strategy, right? So we were able to accomplish that in that time and, have amazing growth since, which it's been a fun ride.
We should dive into that distributor play. I think that's kind of interesting. Wait, you guys were you both at DTF Expo?
I was there Friday. Ryan was there Friday too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know, Steven, you had to talk. What'd you guys think? That was the first, the first.
I thought it was
DTF
I thought it was
Expo.
really good. There were bumps in the road from like an operational standpoint of being the first time that they had ever held a trade show. And I've been there too. I tried to do a rock fest in our own facility last year, and I was running out buying all sorts of stuff to get us going, right? It's just bump after bump after bump. So they had a little bit of that, but from an attendance perspective, I thought it was phenomenal. I think they had about 1,200 people show up. We had really good conversations with people, and we got to meet people that we would have never met anywhere else
ever.
Like
full
who?
DTF shops. Just people that only do DTF. These aren't people that I typically get to see at even Long Beach. I'm sure they're there, but they're not in our booth, right?
Like a Printing United type of...
I don't know how to describe it. It was just people that probably go to Printing United, Bruce, but they spend time just in the DTF arena.
Yeah.
And so we never get a chance, even though we have DTF adjacent equipment, we never get a chance to talk to them because they don't know that we play in that space.
I gave a talk on Friday, and for the first time, so actually on one of my slides, I made an analogy. I don't know if you guys know this. VidCon was started in 2010. It was on the second floor of a hotel in Los Angeles. There were 1,400 people there. It was started by the Vlog brothers, and then bought, now Paramount owns it. It's the biggest video convention in the world. 55,000 people attend. And that was my way of telling Adrian, like, hey, you got to start somewhere,
1,000 plus people attending the first one is...
But I thought what was really cool is, and I think what's the most interesting part, I know, Russ, you're not crazy on Facebook in the forums because you'd probably lose your mind, but there's 90,000 people in one DTF Facebook group. Like, I remember the screen printing Facebook groups. Wow. We got some big ones. There are there's another one, 55,000 people. And so I think of this as an elevated cricket community. That's like the way that I'm thinking about it. You have your cricket moms.
Yeah.
you have your Cricut moms and your DTF dads now. And so I gave this talk and I said, like, how many people in the room? There were probably 60, 70 people, have more than 5 employees. Probably only 4 or 5 people raised their hand. So it's definitely elevated hobbyists who have turned this into a business that maybe run an Etsy store, a Shopify store, support, something local. I bet you they do anywhere between $50,000 to $250,000, $300,000. I bet you would be like the average, business that was in there. A lot of like husband, wife, still printing out of their garage. It's almost if you had a whole convention of people that started with Riley 4x4s. Like,
that's what I was thinking. Like, is that the group? Like, is that the stage 1 group?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's the first event for their kind, right? And so I thought it was really interesting because we had like this cross kind of different people from different industries. I thought what was really interesting, ROQ, you guys brought is it the Impress?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is a ROQ heat press. And the competitors on the other side of the aisle brought a DTF machine that built a DTF machine or is developing one or brought one in or whatever, something like that. But you guys actually took the position as, no, actually, we're going to help people heat press faster. Can you talk a little bit about the position that you guys took there? You're not there to sell presses. I don't know if you even sold a press there. Like, that's an expensive show for you guys to lug that thing there and all that stuff. What was the point of you guys being there?
And this is the ROQ Impress, by the way, if you haven't seen. I think you guys launched it. Long
the
Beach.
ROQin press we developed to be a part of a market that I don't think we don't right now have any plans to develop a machine for, right? So we're not going to make a DTF machine. That's not our goal. And our decision making on this is one, there's a need. We identified a lot of larger businesses that are doing big time DTF printing, right? They've got 10, 15, 20 of these machines that are still running, shuttle heat presses, and they're getting killed on labor. And so we wanted to develop something for the market that helped people with labor, because it's the number one challenge people face. I'm actually in the middle of interviewing a bunch of clients right now to change the way that we market and that we talk to people again. So I'm about to be in another iteration of that. And one of the questions I'm asking is what are your biggest challenges right now as a business? And I mean, it's just unanimously across the board. It's finding and retaining talent. And so, we continue to try to find ways to automate, in our industry, if it's screen, digital, or now, adjacent to DTF, to ensure that people are automating every place that they can in their business, because labor is such a challenge, right? So you could take, 5 people out of your business doing, heat pressing and get 1 in press. I mean, the ROI on it's insane, but it is for a larger business. So when you talk about the average client that was at the expo that we were at, I don't know that was necessarily totally our prime demographic. On the other hand, a lot of those people are growing. They're moving out of their garage. We had a lot of those conversations. They're getting a second DTF machine or a third DTF machine. Their volumes are climbing. And that's where the in-press really comes into play. The way that we've always seen it is when we can show consumers our technology, and the in-press is built off of our circular press platform, right? So it is a ROQ screen printing press, just with different attachments on it, right? So it doesn't do screen printing. It allows our foot in the door. So people that may not have looked at us before because they've got a competitive brand and they do screen printing and now they've got DTF, we can get into that, arena with a DTF machine, and they can see that technology work and move, and it opens up their eyes on what we could do for the rest of their business. So for us, it's not just helping the industry. If I'm being a selfish person about what it does for us, I mean, we call them tip of the spear products, and it's a way for us to get in somewhere where we wouldn't otherwise have been, and maybe having a conversation with someone that never would have talked to us before, but now that we've got a technology that meets a need that they have, it opens up that door for a conversation. And it makes us more sticky. So it's helping people and helping us all at the same time.
I think there's short-term sales and long-term sales, right? So like Ross, our relationship, we've probably known each other for, I don't know. We've been eyeing each other at the trade show halls for the last, I don't know, decade, almost a decade, maybe. We could be going on 10 years.
Yeah, we go way back. Me and you probably have known each other before I was even on this side of the business. I mean, yeah.
I think early when you were selling rocks, and, you know, I think when we were sharing a booth at Atlantic City, like this was just me and Bruce trying to figure out how to get a TV from Target returned. Although times haven't changed. But something that I've noticed that you do, and maybe Ryan does and your team does, is you're always playing this long game. You're never worried about like this short-term sale or like, how do I just sell a press or push this or get that? But you're really thinking, you know, hey, if it's not today, that's okay. Hey, this impress isn't for you today, but you're going to keep your eye on it, right? How is that philosophy? Is that a philosophy that you guys take? How do you teach your sales guys at that? Because I think the way that you guys sell is very different than other companies.
Yeah, so we don't have salespeople, so I'll start there, right? We intentionally, our team, they're a solutions team. Our whole goal here is to really partner with companies. So when we say ROQ US or ROQ, your partner in print, that was born out of like a real passion of both mine and Fernando, the CEO of ROQ Portugal, right? And it's this whole concept that we're here to help other people grow their businesses. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's important to me. That's what's special to me. I consulted for years before I came on this side of the business. It was my passion work, right? So how do I bring that passion into, quote, selling equipment, right? And you've got to believe, and I believe, that our equipment is a piece of the puzzle to help businesses grow and thrive. And in order to get people to buy into that, you know, it's not a sale, right? It's a relationship. It is, how can I help you over time? And I mean, me and you have talked many times about your business, right? And it's always us learning. It's me learning more about you. It's you learning more about us. It's us developing that relationship. And at the end of the day, hey, you know, maybe we get something out of it. There are plenty of times where people can't afford us right off the bat. And it's like, you know what? Hey, go get what you can afford. We'll continue to support you. Let's continue the conversation. Take a class from us. You know, let's continue to develop your skills. And eventually those people all come back around. It's really hard to train your people to have that mindset, right? It's very much like there's a Sandler methodology, which Sandler is a sales methodology, right? And it's sell like you have 20 million in the bank. And someone that sells like they have 20 million in the bank, they have a different mindset going into it, right? So we really teach our team that it's important to not push people. People get pushed all day long. I mean, you think about our potential clients, right? They're getting calls from every credit card processor, blanks distributor, other, you know, ink manufacturers, all these other people that are walking in their doors constantly, blindly just trying to pitch them something. Our goal is to give someone a solution that's really going to help their business. It's going to offset something. It's going to fix a pain. It's going to fix a threat. And if they can see that, then we go on that journey together. And sometimes it's fast and sometimes it's slow. You know, during COVID, I can tell you things were quick, right? People were growing at rapid pace. The DTC market was booming. People had money, you know, from the government. And it was like, oh, okay, let's build a business. Let's go, go, go. And, you know, post-COVID, we've had to go back to traditional methodologies, right? And that takes time. You've got to get a consumer out to another business to have a conversation with someone who's done this before, someone who made the switch from another brand to ours, or someone who added in a piece of technology. We go through that whole process, and it's don't take our word for it. Look at what's out there in the ether. Go talk to those people, and we're here to support you through your journey of growing your business. And I think that it makes us different. You know, and at the end of the day, I think that being different is good. I think this industry has been the same for many, 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 many years. And we kind of want to pattern disrupt that with something that's truly helpful to people. And, you know, weirdly, I can tell you guys a story. I used to sell jewelry. way back, and like really high end stuff.
Are you like what's that Adam Sandler Forbidden what was that Adam Sandler movie that just came
I'm just
out?
picturing Ross with a trench coat.
Oh, heck yeah.
Up with,
are we talking rollies? Like what
Rolex,
are we?
Folex.
I used to wear a full suit every day. I mean, it was diamonds, right? So a lot of diamonds. I was a DCA certified, Gemological Institute certified. You know, I mean, it was the real deal, you know. And
with the monocle and everything.
Uncut gems.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
uncut gems.
But you'd get these people in, right? Let's say, you know, a couple 18-year-olds, they're ready to get married, right? And they come in for an engagement ring. You know, if you're selling something, you're checking their credit and you're taking them over to literally the most expensive thing they could possibly afford on that credit. I mean, that is a true salesperson, right? And I find myself back, and I was much younger then, and trust me, I was hungry for money, but I cared about the people, and I wouldn't do that. I would say, look, you know, here's your options, but if I were you, you know, I'd stick to here. You don't need to stick to the 2 times your salary rule. What's important to you? It's a ring. At the end of the day, the fact that you're living with this person and sharing your life with them, that's what's important. Get a couple of bands and call it a day. And those were the people that came back, right? And so it's the same kind of process here. We're not here to just shove equipment down people's throat.
Well, to your credit, I've actually heard that just listening around at the trade show where a solutions rep would like, I don't think you need that one. Like, you should look at this. I've literally heard that as like a kind of downsell. But those are great tips for any shop to be able to use. I think
Ross, do you train your team on Sandler? Do you guys go through training?
So I went through Sandler years ago, and so I bring in bits and pieces of what's important. I'm not big on one sales methodology because obviously you got Spin, you've got Sandler. There's all of these different methods. I feel like they're all tools to be in a toolbox. I think the companies that stick to one become robotic because they feel like they have to follow that process. And I think it's a very uncomfortable process for a consumer to go through, frankly. And so what we do is we pick pieces of everything. We teach all of it. And then it's client specific, you know, but there's lots of great stuff in Sandler. Swinging the pendulum, you know, it's not like there's 20 million in the bank, burn your head trash. I mean, all of those things are things that we're teaching our people, but we're also teaching Spin. We're also teaching, I mean, I had them read the book. It's called The Dark Psychology of Selling, you know, which is a whole psychological based approach. So we kind of load the toolbox with everything and let people choose their own journey and what works for them in the given situation that they're in.
Do you use that, Stephen?
Cool.
What is Sandler exactly? Like, what's the?
It's like there's a, you know how we talk about traction and EOS for like operating your business. There's playbooks and operating systems for sales. So like the Sandler method, you can go through a bunch of stuff. And, you know, there's different phrases like don't spill your candy in the lobby. And and then, they're like, and some of them are old school, but like they're tried and true sales tactics and sales methodology. I'm having a couple of my people read predictive revenue right now?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like the OG, if you want to be a sales leader, read it. Is it I don't know. Baumgart gave it to us.
Predictable revenue.
Predictable revenue. Yeah. I don't know. But like sales is a skill. You have to learn it. It's a muscle, right? Like you have to practice it. It takes years to get good at it. And you can see who's desperate at sales and you can see who's really good at sales. Bruce, go ahead.
I tell people learn in their natural environment. My wife hates it, but the number one thing I'm always doing is trying to get stuff for free just when we're out in the wild, you know, because it makes you talk to people, right? And so it's like how good am I is really predicted on, you know, how quick can I create a relationship with someone and get them to give me something, whatever it is, right? And I tell people that's the best way to practice. Go out and just practice.
Bruce is really good at asking for discounts. Big discount guy. Always ask for discount.
No shame.
Worst they can say is no. Bruce, I'm curious, just on that sales note, let's close the loop. So obviously ROQ selling expensive pieces of equipment, growing with a customer. What about you guys early at Printavo? Like, were there desperate days? Did you lose customers if they didn't sign that year?
did you even track that at the time? Did you buy the card reader at the trade show? What was that like for you guys?
I think this is a similar journey to how people are running their shops as well, because most folks are not coming from a sales professional, environment as a part of a bigger sales team. So you don't know about a CRM or like tracking lost reasons or, speed to getting on a demo or speed to getting a quote back or speed to close, all these other things that are important. But I did base it off of that book, Predictable Revenue, which was 2 account execs. So essentially 2 people that you could call creating quotes, or you could call, for us, it was doing demos. And then 1 person, which is called a sales development rep, who is drumming up business and or qualifying business that's coming inbound. So I don't want the people creating quotes that are following up and closing the deals to be spending time doing all the prospecting work. And so we had that triangular flow. And that worked pretty well. The other thing I think that helped us early on is hiring 2 sales reps at the same time instead of 1. So a lot of times you've got a budget, all right, awesome. We can hire 1 person. Let's build out the program. You go through set sales, whatever it is. The difficulty is it was hard to compare if they were good or not, or like really understand if that was a good sales rep. Because you think, oh, I don't know, they did okay, or they had a slow month or whatever. There's nothing to compare it to. If you can hire 2, it really helped us see who was bad and who was good almost within 30, 45 days. And we did that, and we were able to peel off the poor performer. And I think the poor performer sees it too, because they're like, oh, we started the same day. Like, I'm either way behind or I'm kind of in the same line. And that was the second thing that helped us a lot early on, and I highly recommend.
I'm curious, Ross, I want to talk a little bit about like referrals and like, how many sales come to ROQ just based off of someone who knows someone who has one, like that just come naturally of like, oh, I talked to a shop that has one and they sent me here. What's that like? How much do you guys play referrals and networks versus actually developing your own leads?
It's almost hard to quantify at this point. I mean, yeah, there probably was a day where I could quantify that better. Because we're so heavy from an online marketing engine. I mean, I know where people come in, but I don't know why they got there in the first place. I can imagine it's a chunk. I'd probably say 15, 20%. Maybe even more, right? Our network has grown, so it's not just clients at this point, right? We've got a ton of very developed relationships in the industry with other vendors, other blanks manufacturers. I mean, just people that are out in the wild doing other things for their business. And I think that networking, I mean, it's really indicative of like our booth in Long Beach. That entire perimeter are, they're partners of ours. They're people that believe in what we're doing. They're in there. They're part of the ROQ family. But they're in the business of selling something different, right? That's adjacent to our product. And so I think that those relationships drive quite a bit. And again, it's hard to quantify what that is, but I can imagine it's substantial.
So what you're kind of saying is, so at Long Beach, if you haven't been to Long Beach yet, it's an incredible show. ROQ basically has, we call it the ROQ Atrium now. It's kind of gotten its own name, but it's the connecting hall between 2 halls. And it used to just be you guys. And then you're like, wait a second, we'll just have all our friends in here too. And so Printavo's booth is in there and Supercolor's in there, right? And Set Sales is in there. And you kind of just started like, we're just going to be the central hub here. You kind of, I don't know who made that decision. Was that a you thing? Was that a Ryan thing? I think there's a lot of genius there. Yeah,
I told Ross he's hosting his own trade show in a trade show.
You're hosting your own trade show in a trade show. Does the trade show like that or not?
They do, actually. I mean, oddly enough, the building probably the show likes it because it's a draw. The building loves it. If you guys notice, this year is the first year they put all of those food trucks out the entire time. Plus, they had like a pretzel vendor, an lemonade vendor, and a this vendor. So, they're loving it because the drive into that area and the amount of people that are constantly there is fairly large. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. And for us, I think for the client experience is great because they can come into one area, they can see a software company, right? They can see a couple of blank companies.
Well, it's also like hand selected. It's not like you're going to Amazon and it's a scatter shot of you don't know what to pick. This is like, no. These are the vendors you should be talking to help you guys, which,
absolutely
saves a lot of time.
Ross, I want to talk about something. So, early on in my career, my business partner's twice my age. We look nothing alike, blue collar, different demographic, all that stuff. And the reason we decided to get, M&R presses back in the day was we're 100 miles away. Rich and my business partner looked very similar, talked the same way, all that good stuff. And I was just young and I was like, I can't really argue with that, whatever. And then, as years have gone by, his opinion has changed completely. And one thing that I saw early on and what Jed, my business partner, would be like, hey, if we need to buy a part, support's really important. And how are they going to support us? And I know you want to get these things. And for the longest time, it was always, oh, they're in Portugal. Oh, they're not going to have support. Oh, it's going to be hard to get parts. And there's this cool book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I feel like from 30,000 feet away, you guys have leaned into support and having an incredible support system and customer service. Can you talk about acknowledging that issue, addressing it, and then turning it into your strength over the last maybe decade?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, right? That was the number one concern, I think, of anyone for years. And I think that this goes back to when we became ROQ US, right? For a little over 4 years ago now. And we got a big warehouse in Florida, and we have a serialized parts area that is all done with insane technology. We probably have more technology in our company, I would say, than any other manufacturer in this industry at this point, right? We've leaned into that heavy. We see the need for technology in a changing world. And I think that technology and the investment in technology has been what the industry, i.e. the consumer, needs, and what makes you feel comfortable that we're going to be there, right? So, we implemented Service Pro. So now when you guys get a press, you get an app, and your serial numbers are in the app, and anyone in your company can download the app. They can log in, they can select that they've got a problem. They can select what piece of equipment it's on. If you have multiples, you describe it, you hit a button, it shoots out to our service team automatically, right? We have a dedicated service team that's there. We don't have a front line in front of our 800 number. That was a big deal to me. There is not a buffer. If you hit 2 for service, you're going straight to attack. It's not it's no bullshit. I mean, to put it another way, right? You're getting help right away. And I think that having that facility, people realizing the same way Amazon can get parts to people in the US or things that they order, we can do the same thing, right? If we need overnight things, we do it. And I think this just goes back to being a partner in print. We're putting the partner first. And we will go the extra mile. We will do what needs to be done. And we don't argue with people. Most companies, they want to get paid to fix things. They charge an arm and a leg. They want to argue with you about it for who knows how long because they don't actually want to do it. We want to do it. We want to fix your equipment. We want to make sure you're up and running. And I mean, frankly, our equipment doesn't have problems. There's a reason that we offer a 3-year warranty that includes travel, labor, parts. It's no cost to anyone. That 3 years, you don't pay a dime. Why would we in our right mind do that if things are constantly having problems? It would cost us a fortune, right? So it really kind of it should show the people getting these things that we believe in our product. It's not going to break. And when it does, we're there for you, right? But I think that the biggest thing was that investment in technology. I think people, we have a new generation of printers now, that can't rely on an 800 number and a receptionist to buffer a call to get something fixed. People don't have the freaking patience anymore, right? We're used to an Amazon world. You want to be able to hit a button and know that it's going to be taken care of and be able to forget about it until it's taken care of. And I think that that's the gap that we've tried to solve with technology.
Can I just want to close the loop on the ROQin press. You mentioned something that's interesting. Stephen and I have brainstormed on automatic heat presses before. And I think, you guys stepped into a space that really there wasn't any competition in, like in the circular kind of heat press, there was like east west, there's some stuff coming from overseas, but most of them are the shuttles that people buy and use. Where does something like that go, right? This is V1. You guys come out with it. I've heard people buying it. They have great reviews. Your brain can start to go to some fun places of, okay, there's the M&R passport thing, right? All right, so that could pull off shirts. So there's someone now loading. Is there a way?
We got robots coming out in the next month, Bruce, on that machine.
Wait, are we dropping something? Because I'm the way I'm thinking is like it's not hard to put the transfer on, right? That part's not if it's aligning with laser or something. Now maybe peeling is a little bit tricky. You're doing the pre, the post.
We've got that too. I got a mic drop on what's coming. So
all right. Let's dig in.
We have a robotic transfer loading machine. So it's going to suck up your transfer. It's going to align it to the laser.
It's just like a pile of them sitting at the side. Yeah. And then, wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's actually from a tray. So there's a tray built into the machine. So it's going from a tray. And then we have an auto peeler. So you're going to be able to run the machine with one person loading and unloading within probably the next 45 to 60 days. Everyone out there should see those things drop. And then we're working on an XL version of the same machine. So right now, the transfer size is limited to the heat presses and the pallets. We're going to have an XL version, which will allow people to do some pretty large transfers as well. So we've got that in the works as well. But yeah, we're trying to solve all that automation. Again, it's all about how do we eliminate labor.
Ross, I have a question. Now, you guys obviously have a hybrid that works on a huge oval. That's, an extremely expensive piece of equipment. And I know the team at ROQ is actively developing it and it does really, really well on like the international circuit. But at the same time, you're also building something that could potentially cannibalize it a little bit. How do you think about that when you think of these super expensive high end on one side of the aisle and then, okay, these are transfers on the other side of the aisle? And there's kind of a little bit of a race of like, what's going to beat out the other? How do you think about that every single day?
It's interesting.
Is it a problem
I don't think it's a problem. I think the problem's in educating the consumer more than anything, right? I mean, DTF right now, it's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to do the same thing that we saw with TJet back, 12, 13 years ago.
What was that?
TJet came out. TJet was like kind of the beginning to digital, right? It was like, it was the machine that came out and everyone bought. I mean, almost to Steven's point of the Cricut and now the DTF and everyone's going in and buying them, right? So the same thing happened with digital back, 12, 13 years ago. And the technology wasn't quite where it needed to be yet. I'm not sure that DTF is all the way there. We all know that. It does a great job, but there's still a lot that needs to be worked out with chemistry of inks and hand and stuff like that. Things where it excels wash fastness, it crushes everything, which is great. So there's a lot of good things about DTF that are happening, but the technology is still having a lot of kinks worked out of it, specifically from a chemistry standpoint. I think that you've got a lot of early adopters that don't have a market for what they're buying. I think you have a lot of people that can easily get into something for 30, 40 grand and they do it. And I think, you've got a lot of people too that I've talked to that buy one and it sits for 2 months and now all their heads are ruined and they're investing in all new heads because they're not using the machine. They don't have their market developed. They don't understand what they're using it for. They think it's solving a problem, but they haven't identified what problem it's solving. Right. So when I look at hybrid, when I look at the ROQ Go, when I look at the ROQ Now, which are all our digital technologies, they each have their own place. Right. And there is a place for all of them. It's not, though, in someone's garage, right? So, the hybrid solves problems for people that are burning, 15, 20 screens to print an elaborate print and do it at scale, So that's running 10, 15,000 units of something that's complicated. Now, could DTF solve that same problem? It can if the client will accept a DTF print. But if a client wants something high end, DTF is not going to solve that problem. And I kind of equate it to Disney. You guys gone to Disneyland recently, right? They have DTF printed shirts and they sell for $20. And those are their like character. Someone just wants to buy something, right? But if you buy like a nice Disney shirt, it is going to be printed digitally and or by screen or by both or the huge puff print. And you're going to spend 80, 90, 110 bucks on that shirt. DTF doesn't solve for that yet, right? So hybrid does. Hybrid allows you to do multicolor, to add puff, to add foil, to have extra appliques, but reduce the screen count, which again is reducing your labor there. And that really plays in the screen market, where our other two digital machines, the Now and the Go, are playing much more in your direct to consumer printing space, right? Yeah. And then I think DTF is an add-on. I think that the best shops out there, guys, have all three technologies. So the biggest places that I've been that are doing it well, they're running full digital, they have screen, and they have DTF. And operationally, the consumer operationally is moving into one of those print technologies, right? So if they've got a short run with someone that doesn't care, it's probably moving to DTF. It's cheaper, it's quicker. The client doesn't care about the quality. They want the inexpensive print done. You know, when they're doing DTC printing, they're running on a full digital. When they're doing bulk, they're running on screen. And I think that right now we've got a bunch of people scared. And I frankly, guys, hey, is DTF hurting us a little bit? Yeah, I'm sure it is, right? Because it is new, just like the T-Jet hurt people 13 years ago. Yeah.
Automatic sales.
Of course. Yeah, because you've got people now that are like, okay, do I buy another auto or do I get DTF? And when you look at it, the investment is so different. It's a lot easier for a company to say, you know what, I'm going to take the risk on DTF. I'm going to spend the 40 grand and let's try it. You know, I think we're in a cycle though. And what you're going to see is about 50 to 60% of the people that adopted that technology but don't understand the market yet are going to then end up coming back and buying a press. And maybe they still have DTF, but they're going to realize DTF doesn't solve every issue for them. And I don't think any one of these technologies solve every issue for everyone. Again, I think it's about your business and it's about your market. And if you guys have listened to like Josh Merrill speak on this a few times at shows, right? He understands what he does and he does it really freaking well. And his idea of bringing in it's like, why bring stuff in that's going to change what I'm doing really well? Screen printing is not going away. There's been no need to adopt other technologies.
There was, I feel like, such a big investment into digital, maybe over the last, starting 5-6 years ago up until recently, and probably continuing. Do you think now, seeing the popularity of the shop owner wanting to buy DTF more focused instead of maybe DTG based equipment, do you think as an industry we invested on the digital side, like as far as manufacturing pouring into the R&D side and the equipment and the really expensive stuff? Or was that you're saying that no, that's just like a column satisfying a certain need here?
Yeah, I don't think it was overinvested at all. In fact, I mean, we're still heavily investing into digital because there's still a lot of problems to solve. Not one of the manufacturers has solved the riddle of, different fabrics yet. No one has solved the one machine that can print on poly, print on cotton, not have staining issues with pre-treat. I mean, there's so many things that still need to be solved. And like I said, DTF doesn't solve it. The hand is different. Everything's different. So it's not, maybe it's a race. Is DTF going to be able to change their ink technology to feel more like a screen print or more like a digital print? Maybe. but I don't see one taking over another. Again, I think they all have their lane. And I think what the consumer hasn't figured out yet is that lane. What's going to work for their business. And I mean, Steven, you probably know a lot about this, dude. You guys print for athletics, you print for colleges, right? You guys are doing a bunch of different technologies when it comes to names and numbers on certain things. And then other things need to be, I'm sure, screen printed, and some things could work for digital and some not. But I think it's very client dependent on which direction makes the most sense for the decoration.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely changes. We try, we're doing merch drops for college athletes that hold licensed marks. So we have to uphold the license of the school. So the quality obviously has to be really good. So we spent a ton of time learning how to halftone DTF prints, and trying to get the feel down and all that. But we were becoming, this isn't necessarily public yet, but next fall we're going to be able to print on Nike jerseys. We're in the Nike Blanks program, and you have to go through a series of testing. And when talking to them, some of their clients still pick vinyl to put names in, like literally pick vinyl. And so I was like, and some screen print. I was like, I'm going to DTF this. And they were a little like, okay. And then we sent them in and they're like, can you send us some of those? Like, we're impressed. And I was like, oh, cool. So it's interesting to see the different dynamic of different factories and what people are doing. The one thing I will say is, like, I was at the Nike store and everything was DTF, which was super interesting, right? Everything was a transfer. But I think the one bias that we have in the United States is we don't realize the footprint of printing outside of the States and how different it is, right? When you go to Europe, like, everything's flat, right? Like, so like, everything's getting sewn after the fact or something like that. And so the, screen printing is so relevant and digital is so important there. But inside our walls, we just don't see it and we don't know it. How much bigger is ROQ outside of the US than it is? Like, what are our blinders that we don't see happening?
Huge, man. I mean, the largest screen printing shop in the world in China runs all ROQ ovals. I mean, this place would blow anyone's mind that walks into it. I mean, it's all golf carts and robots and things running down aisles. And I mean, just like a sea of ovals and people. And again, you're right. I mean, they're printing flat stock. It's all cut and sew. Most of the factories, I mean, even in Portugal, the factories that we have there, but our footprint's huge. I mean, in Asia, Turkey, South America, globally, I mean, we're in over 80 countries and we have a very, very large presence. I think.
Do you know that is US majority or minority of all that?
I mean, if you took all of the rest of it and added it together, we make up a smaller fraction. We're the largest market for ROQ as a single market, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So no other market's bigger than the US, but collectively the rest of the world is much larger than what we do here. But for digital, it's different. Digital, the market's here. The market is not being adopted globally in the same way. You'll see it in Europe, right? I'd say you're going to see digital in more English speaking countries than you are anywhere else. And the US being really the pinnacle point where digital has made a big splash. And I think that comes from the amount of direct to consumer printing that we do in the United States in comparison to the rest of the world.
Interesting. There is a ROQ Egypt, Bruce. I didn't know if you know this. I asked Ross if I could be the U.S. ambassador to ROQ Egypt.
I sent that to Joao, actually. So we'll see what he says.
I'm here. I been a handful of times.
Do Cairo for a couple weeks.
Could shake some hands, take some pictures, flags, whatever. The whole thing. I'm there.
I love it.
I'll apply within. No, this is super cool. Bruce, any last questions for Ross?
Yeah, I mean, you actually touched on this a little bit, but shop owners, you said, tend to buy in hype cycles. I'm sure you've seen some other things that happen where you're like, I don't know if you should be buying that, or like maybe you should be over here. Are there certain mistakes that people that are looking at equipment, and it doesn't have to be, a manual to auto, it could be anything that you just see off the top of your head, hey, think about this or look at that, things to help them?
The biggest thing, and I probably say this at every in-person event, almost every podcast I've been on. The biggest mistake people make is not understanding their business model before they buy new technology. i.e., they go to a show, they have money, they have an OpEx budget, they see something new and shiny that they think is going to make them money, whether that's, oh my gosh, the wide format printer, let's do car wraps, or, a 6-head embroidery machine. We've gotten some embroidery work. Let's buy that and let's put it in here. The problem is they're making these buying decisions without understanding their market yet. They don't know who's going to buy this stuff. They're doing it off of a whim. They're doing it because they have the money. They're doing it because they feel like they have to grow. And for most people, they feel like they have to grow out instead of up, right? And so it's, let me adopt screen printing, car wrapping, screen printing, DTF. Well, what happens is they suck at all 4 of those things.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to grow. So get really good and understand your market with one process. And once you're crushing it, then you need to understand what the next thing is to add. You need to plan for it. You need to know who your customer is ahead of time. You need to pre-sell it, broker that kind of stuff, get to the point where then you can add in the technology to bring it on.
So do you think a better spend is verticalized, more so equipment, like to the target customer you're offering? So, I mean, I guess it could be stickers if that is the target customer that you're working on and it's expanding a secondary sale. But is it, trying to automate more of the process? For example, darkroom or,
100%
post-press type stuff, or what?
100%, because that's where people are losing their money and they don't realize it. So everyone's looking to just add market share by adding adjacent equipment, embroidery, vinyl wrap, whatever it is, right? And in that moment, they've got 4 people working in their darkroom. One person's spraying screens and scrubbing them for 8 hours a day. Someone else is doing something else. So it's look at what you have, maximize your profitability by vertical investment until you've gotten to a point where, again, you're I don't want to use the word perfect, but you're excellent at everything, and then start to adopt adjacent stuff to grow outward. I think we're too quick to just put we're trying to add revenue without fixing our cost structure. And if people would start to fix their cost structure and understand their business better, they're going to be more successful. And I think a lot of people don't ask themselves, why did I get into business in the first place? Is it financial freedom and independence? Is it because I want more time with my friends and family? Is it because I want to offer as many jobs to as many people as I can? Do I want to be a billionaire? I mean, if you haven't even answered that fundamental question for yourself, it's really hard to know where to invest and why you're investing in those places, right? If you want more free time and you want to maximize your profits, then you need to reduce your costs. You need to get people out of there. You need to automate as much as you can, so I think it boils down to even just as simple of a question as that. But the biggest thing people don't get is their business model, and they don't understand their cost structure. And we're trying to solve that with, automation and with metrics. All of our equipment now can connect online. You can pull the data out of it. That's something completely new. So people actually understand how long from start to stop and what problems they're having. Are you having pinholes all the time? That's a selection now. Okay, well, go in your darkroom and fix the problem, right? Before, people weren't tracking any of this stuff. So I don't think they knew where their problems were. The good ones did, because they at least had a piece of paper and someone was writing it down and they were going through it. But the more data we can start to get as companies in this industry, the better the industry is going to become, because it's just something no one had access to for the last 40 years.